Thank you, Batuka. And good morning, our dear listeners, and good morning, our dear students. In the studio this morning is your lecturer, Dr. Albert Agbesiwonyo. And let me say you are welcome to the first radio lecture of this academic year. And let me use the opportunity to welcome all the level 100 students to University of Education Winneba. So you are welcome to our first radio lecture in the semester. And the radio lecture is on communication skills. Communication skills. That is the course. So the course title is Communication Skills and the course code is GPD 111. This is a course that is offered by all level 100 students. So our level 100 students, you are welcome. And this course, GPD 111 Communication Skills, as a general course, it is taught by quite a number of lecturers. So each department will have a lecturer assigned to that department. And some have already had their first lecture. Others are yet to have their first lecture. So let me go straight away to the requirements for the course. For this course, the course is going to be delivered to you on a face-to-face mode. That is the lecture hours that you have with your lecturer in the lecture hall. Then in addition to that, you will have the radio lecture as we have started this morning. Then you will also have materials provided on the V class for you to access. So we're liaising with the IT directorate, and very soon you will be added and we will get you enrolled on the V class, and we'll make materials available for you to use. So materials available for you to download, materials available for you to read, and sometimes you maybe have videos available that you can watch, right? So you also have textbooks that you make reference to get additional information. Then for the mode of assessment, you're going to have series of quizzes and assignments. You have quizzes on the V class, and you have a mid-semester exam, and you have an end of semester exam. So that's briefly about the mode of delivery and what is required of you in this course, communication skills. Now let me come to the course itself as a whole. What is the purpose of the course, communication skills? The broad aim of this course is to help students improve on their language skills. So the course introduces you to the standards of writing in the university. So how to go about your studies, and how to go about your research work, how to go about your writing, and for you to succeed in the pursuit of whatever program that you have come to pursue in the university. That is the broad aim of the course. And this morning, our first lecture is titled Academic Discourse. Academic Discourse. So we'll take the first part today, Academic Discourse 1. That is our first topic. So you are welcome to our first topic, the first lecture titled Academic Discourse. So my dear students, now let's start for today. What we're going to do in this lecture is to help you perceive what we mean by academic discourse and the characteristics or the nature of academic discourse. That is the focus of today's lecture. So let me start this way. Dear students, we want to see or define what we mean by academic discourse. For us to understand what academic discourse is, we are going to place it within a very broad concept, and that concept is known as what a discourse community is. So let's start with what a discourse community is. So let me pose this question. What is a discourse community? Dear students, what is a discourse community? For us to understand what a discourse community is, let us break the two words and pick them one after the other before we put them together. So first, let's start with what we are familiar with. What is a community? Let us get the concept of what a community is first. So if you have a pen and paper, try putting down or expressing what you think is a community. So what is a community? Okay, great. Now I believe by this time you have been able to scribble something or write something to be a community. So we will say that a community, or some people will tell you a community is a place where people live. So you can talk about this community, that community. We can also say that a community is a group of people. A group of people with common goals. A group of people who share certain things or have certain things in common. Like they have a language in common, they have norms, they have beliefs, they have traditions, they have a way of life, or they have some kind of practices. So there is something that that group of people have in common. So here we are looking at a community as a group of people with common goals. And the common goals may be norms, values, etc., ideologies, etc. That is great. So now we know what a community is. My dear students, now that we have been able to define what a community is, let us proceed and get the meaning of discourse. Then we will put the two together to explain the concept of a discourse community. All right. So now let's proceed and ask, what is discourse? What is discourse? Yes, you can quickly search and get what discourse is. Great. Now, when you search, maybe you come across something like speech pattern. Discourse is a speech pattern that is acceptable among a group of people. Great. So that is what discourse is. So discourse simply means conversation or communication that takes place among a group of people. Now, what is peculiar about discourse is that because it takes place among a group of people, we can tell that group. So we can say that this is speech pattern or this is conversation that is taking place among market women, or this is speech or conversation or interaction that is taking place among a group of lawyers. We can say this is conversation or speech pattern that is taking place maybe among a group of health professionals. Now, how do we know these things? We know it because of the language use, the kind of words that they use, the kind of conversation that they engage in. So that is what to tell us that this kind of interaction or this kind of conversation is a conversation among maybe a group of lawyers, a group of health professionals, a group of market women, etc. So here we will get to know that discourse takes place among a group of people. And what is a group of people with common goal? That is a community. So discourse takes place among communities, right? A group of people. So if we put the two together, we will get something like this, that a discourse community is a group of people with common goals. And that group of people, they engage in communication among themselves. So they use language, they use speech patterns that are acceptable in the pursuit of their goals, in the pursuit of the aspirations or the practices. Do you get it? Great. And this concept of a discourse community was coined or propounded by a British linguist called John Swales. And Swales is spelled S-W-A-L-E-S. John Swales. So John Swales defined a discourse community as a group of people with common goals who engage in communication to achieve their goals. Exactly. Now, let us proceed and look at examples of discourse communities. Can we identify groups of people, and that group of people, they have a kind of standard of writing or communication, standard vocabulary, or they have a speech pattern that is peculiar to that group? Yes, there are so many examples that we can get. I have already mentioned a group like a group of lawyers, so legal practitioners, health practitioners. Do you get a point? In the same way, we can also talk about academics or those in the university setting who engage in research. So academics have a kind of language or speech pattern among that they use among themselves. Great. Even we can talk about religious groupings. Religious groups, they have standards of communication, and the speech pattern or the use of language among them is unique to that group. So religious groups, professional groupings or professional associations are all examples of discourse communities. They are all examples of groups of people who use language in a peculiar way among their members. So that is exactly what a discourse community is. Great. Now that we have understood what a discourse community is as a group of people who have goals in common and they engage in the use of language to achieve those goals, and we have given examples as religious groups, professional groups, etc. Now, let us look at their characteristics. What are the characteristics or the features of discourse communities? One of the things that, even in the definition, is that discourse communities have common goals. That is one of the characteristics. Discourse communities have common goal, and the goal that they have is usually a public goal. So that goal that they have is what they pursue, what they offer the society. If we take the health professionals, for example, yes, what is the goal of those engaged in the health profession? Health, attend to diseases, right, and provide solutions. If we take those in the legal profession, yes, they provide counseling on legal issues when there's dispute and how to resolve it. If we take a group of academics, those engaged in research in the universities, what is their common goal? Their common goal is to engage in research and come out with new knowledge which they publish for the good of society to help improve, right? So all discourse communities have common goals, okay? And even if we take the religious groups, for example, yes, they have a common goal. Common goal, maybe if you take the Christian community, for example, to propagate the gospel of Jesus Christ, to bring salvation to the people, right? To repent, stop sinning, and engage in moral life that is acceptable. Great. So now we have explained one of the characteristics of a discourse community. Now, another characteristic or feature of a discourse community is that discourse communities, to a large extent, tend to use special vocabulary or specific lexics. Lexics is spelled L-E-X-I-S. Lexics, or vocabulary, or speech pattern or language that is peculiar to that group. And this is so obvious that when you take any group of people, you realize that their use of language they use terms or vocabulary that is peculiar to that group of people. So I keep giving examples of health professionals, legal practitioners, a group of academics, a group of bankers, etc. So that, what do we mean by this special lexis or special vocabulary? It is the terminologies that they use in carrying out their practice. So if you take the health professionals, for example, some of the things they will be using, they will be talking about parity, which simply means giving birth. They will talk about taking your vitals, that's your temperature, etc. So these are terminologies that are peculiar to those in the health profession. So that is lexis that is used among health professionals. If you take the legal practitioners, they will be talking about filing a writ, something is contempt of court, mandamus, and the terminologies that they use. So that is peculiar to the legal profession. Great. So we have established that discourse communities have common goals, and then they have special lexis. Now, another feature of discourse communities is that discourse communities have mechanisms of intercommunication among their members. And these mechanisms of intercommunication may come in the form of conferences, meetings, or exchange of letters, etc. So there are means by which they interact and share knowledge and advance their practice. If you take the religious groups, for example, there are days that they meet. Maybe for church service, we have prayer meetings, we have choir practices, we have other meetings within. So these are mechanisms of intercommunication among that group of people. A group of academics also have mechanisms of interaction. Then the fourth feature is that the discourse communities use the mechanisms of intercommunication to pass on information to their members. Do you get a point? Yes. So when they interact, when they meet, they pass on information and they receive feedback from their members. Great. Two other characteristics of discourse communities that I'm going to add is that discourse communities utilize one or two genres. What is a genre? A genre is just a form of writing or a form of communication. We have every form of communication have a format or a structure such that if you write a letter, the format of a letter is different from how we write a memo. Those in business know what a memo is. So a memo, the way a memo is written, is different from the way a letter is written. And the way a letter is written is different from the way an essay is written. And the way an essay is written is different from the way a court sermon is written. And the way a court sermon is written is different from maybe the way a prescription is written at the hospital. So all these I have mentioned are examples of genre, but these examples of genre or formats of writing, some are peculiar to certain discourse communities. So we will know that yes, writing a memo is common to business practitioners or in the field of administration or among administrators for organizational communication. But writing a prescription is something that is peculiar to those in the health profession. Writing an essay is peculiar to those in the academic discourse community. The students write essays, etc. Great. So discourse communities utilize one or two genres as a form of communication among the members of that discourse community. Then also discourse communities, the members have levels of knowledge or levels of expertise. You know, for every discourse community, people are sort of trained into it. So even if you take the religious bodies, for example, when there is a crusade and somebody gets converted, that person will be a novice to begin with. But as that person continues to go to church, the person will begin to learn the doctrines and become well versed and maybe become an elder or an evangelist. So the level of expertise is now advanced. In the same way, when somebody goes to medical school, the person may not be able to practice as a doctor immediately, but after the 7 years of training, the person now becomes a doctor. So his level of knowledge and expertise in the practice of medicine is now up to a level that he can now go into the consulting room. Great. So that is about the features or the characteristics of discourse communities. And this is to let us perceive as students that yes, every discourse community have a form of writing, a way of communication, language use that is peculiar to that discourse community. And that is the point that we want to prove today in, as we refer to, academic discourse. Academic discourse. So our broad heading is academic discourse, but we want to situate academic discourse within the concept of a discourse community. And you agree with me that with the explanation that we have offered so far, the university is also a discourse community of its own. So the university as a discourse community is what we refer to as the academic discourse community. Do you get it right? So the university as a discourse community is called the academic discourse community. And in the academic discourse community, or within the university setting, the language use is what we are referring to as academic discourse. So academic discourse is simply the language used in the university setting. And this language used in the university setting manifests in the form of what goes on in the lecture halls and what goes on at the seminars, departmental seminars, faculty seminars, right? Good. So in the university, in the academic discourse community, the academic discourse community, as we have established, the public goal is to conduct research and to generate knowledge and to disseminate knowledge or to impart knowledge to those who have come for the benefit of society. So in the process of creating knowledge, which comes through carrying out research, there is always the need to disseminate research information, to share research information among the academics. So that is why the academics usually hold seminars, they hold conferences to share knowledge about research that is going on in the academia. Great. And then they also engage in imparting this knowledge to those who get enrolled as students in the lecture halls. So academic discourse has certain features or certain characteristics that are peculiar to it, just as we have indicated that those in the legal profession or the group of lawyers, they have their speech pattern or the use of language terminologies that are peculiar. So you agree with me that even in the academic discourse community, as you have come in now as a novice or a fresh student, you realize that even the terminologies or the way we refer to things is peculiar to this community. You call those who teach you, you call them lecturers. So some are professors. And where you meet, you call it a lecture hall, right? And you have to see a dean. So even the terminologies used to refer to people are peculiar to the university community. And when you go to the lecture hall, you talk about course outline, and credit hours. So in the university community, in the academic discourse community, we talk about credit hours, and we understand what we mean by credit hours. But you can't go to the market and be asking a market woman about credit hours. That doesn't mean anything to her, because this is language that is peculiar to the academic discourse community. Great. So that is the point we have established now. So ladies and gentlemen, and my dear students, let us proceed and look at the characteristics of academic discourse, the characteristics of academic writing, the kind of discourse, the kind of writing that goes on in the university community. What are the specific characteristics? What are the features that we need to take note of? Do you get a point? Great. Now, before coming to the characteristics, let me indicate that academic writing or an academic essay is usually different from the writing of fiction or fictional essay. That is one thing you must get clear. Fiction is a piece of writing that is based on imagination. So fictional writing, you may be asked how you celebrated your holiday, and you just write that essay based on imagination. But academic writing, academic essay, is based on a concept or a topic or research work that has been carried out in the lab or on the field, especially those in agric, or in the classroom, those in mathematics and those engaged in the teaching of language, right? So academic writing is based on a fact, a concept, a real-time event that has taken place. That is the focus of academic writing. So we say that academic writing, it is a piece of writing that is composed by consulting multiple sources. You see, in the process of writing, whether it is research work or based on a particular concept or a particular methodology, you agree with me that you are going to learn or consult information from textbooks, information from journals, articles, sometimes information from newspapers. For example, if you are writing on maybe the state of the economy or inflation or international relations, something like that, you need information from various sources, from the internet. So you are going to consult all these sources of information in order for you to write something that is rich, something that incorporates information from all these sources as an academic piece of writing. So an academic piece of writing is that piece of writing that is composed by consulting multiple sources. We consult multiple sources, and when we talk about sources, multiple simply means several, plentiful, right? So the sources may be sources from the internet, sources from books, magazines, newspapers, theses, etc., etc. Do you get it right? Great. So now let us look at the features or the characteristics of academic writing. What are the features? What are the characteristics? One, dear students, one of the features of academic writing is that sources are consulted and cited in academic writings. Sources are consulted. So academic writing, as I indicated, you don't write just your opinion or your views. Even before you even come to a conclusion, you might have come to that conclusion based on the series of sources that you have consulted. That is how academic writing is composed. So that is one of the features or the characteristics. Two, the sources that are consulted and cited in academic writings, they are acknowledged. And take note of this, they are acknowledged using a particular referencing style. They are acknowledged using a particular documentation style. And what do we mean by this? In acknowledging the sources, you are writing on a particular topic. Then you use information from a particular textbook. When you use information from that textbook, let's say you are writing on child labor, and there is a definition of child labor by, let's say, WHO. So WHO defines child labor as exposure of a child to a hazardous condition. Now that definition is not yours. It is WHO definition. So when you make use of it, you need to acknowledge it. What do we mean by acknowledging it? you need to indicate that it is WHO definition of child labor. That is the acknowledgement, and that is what must be done in the academia. That is one of the striking features of academic writing. And failure to acknowledge the source, failure to indicate that it is WHO definition of child labor, and you write it as if it is your definition of child labor, then you are committing an offense in the academia, and that offense is known as plagiarism, and it is an offense that is punishable. And if you commit that offense, sometimes maybe your paper may not be passed. You may be asked to rewrite. But even if you commit that offense, for example, especially in our thesis or your project work, and you even pass, it was not noticed. Even if it is noticed after you have graduated, it can be 5 years after you have graduated. If it is discovered by somebody and the person makes a case, the university will still look into it, and if you are found culpable, your certificate will be withdrawn. Yes, so these are some of the consequences of the issue of not acknowledging the source. So we have mentioned two characteristics. One, sources are consulted and cited in academic writing. Two, the sources that are cited, they are acknowledged using a particular documentation style, a particular referencing style. And when we say a particular referencing style, it is just the various styles or ways of acknowledging the sources. Let me give this as an example. One style would be mention the name of the author and the year in which the book was published, so that we know it is WHO that define it that way. Another one may be give us the title of the document or the book that WHO may be published. Do you get the point? So that is simply, but we will look into this one, or it's a whole topic that we'll be looking at later, the various styles of documentation. Is that okay? Great. Then 3, another feature of academic writing is that the language that is used in academic writing is formal language. Formal language. Formal language, right? And formal language means that the language is what we call official. You remember you were taught about writing friendly letters and official letters. That is a good example that I can use to illustrate what we mean by formal language. When you are writing a friendly letter, that one you can use informal language, where you use contracted forms like I can't, I am, you write am, that is, you write that's apostrophe s, you see that apostrophe s, that's good. That is informal language, where you are using contracted forms, you are shortening the words. But in formal language, we don't use contracted forms. So you can say can't, but you write cannot. You can write that, but you write that is. Do you get it right? Great. Then also, formal language also means that you use the official words. Official words. Yes, we have official words and we have what we call colloquial varieties. Colloquial varieties. Sometimes students, when they hear colloquial, they think it is tititi, blema, something. No. Colloquial does not mean a cake or tititi. No. Colloquial simply means informal or friendly. So colloquial words are the words that we use to chat with our peers. Let me give simple examples. When we are talking an informal situation, chatting, we can talk about, oh, these kids are smart. But when we are writing official, formal, we will not use kids. What shall we use? We'll say children. You see? So these children. So children is official. Kid is what? Colloquial. Another example I can give is to say, oh, my dad, my mom. Dad, mom. That is informal. But in a formal expression, what will you say? My father, my mother. Do you get it right? Great. So there is language used that is informal. There are lots of people. No. You have to write, there are a lot of people. Good. So we got it right. Another feature or another characteristic of academic writing is that the use of the passive voice is preferred. Passive construction is preferred in academic report or in academic writing. Now, I need to explain what we mean by passive voice, because students always have issues with trying to perceive what is formal language and trying to identify what is passive voice. Now, let me explain passive voice to mean the kind of writing or sentence construction where the person who did the action is not mentioned. For example, let me give this example. You can say, I broke the glass, and children will never tell you I broke the glass, so that you know that he's the one who did it. Or even if he knows that it is Kofi, he won't tell you Kofi broke the glass. Now, in that sentence, we have mentioned the doer of the action. I broke the glass. That is active sentence. The doer of the action is mentioned. But what children will tell you is that the glass was broken. So who broke it? Then they will tell you it broke by itself. They have hidden the doer of the action. So that is passive construction. The glass was broken. So in academic writing, usually because it has to do with collection of data, carrying out research and writing the research report, when you are using active, it becomes monotonous. So you say, I collected data, I interviewed 5 people. Instead of writing, I collected data from 3 places, you don't say I collected data, you just say data were collected from 3 sources. And instead of saying I interviewed 5 people, you don't say I interviewed, but you say 5 people were interviewed. Do you get it? And those of us in the teaching of language and mathematics, etc., in the classroom, sometimes we carry out research with the students or with our pupils. You don't say I gave each child a test to write, but you just say a test was given to each child to write. So a text was given, that is passive voice, but I gave, that is active. And what I'm saying is that in writing or in giving academic report, especially in the sciences, passive voice is preferred. Do you get it? It's preferred. Sometimes I listen to students who are doing their viva or at a seminar, and they are always struggling to express themselves, and they have the tendency of saying that we collected data and we did this and we interview people, and sometimes some of the lecturers ask them, you and who? If it is you did the work alone, then you come. So they are expressing, they are finding it difficult to, but if you use, if you are finding it difficult to express the report, we interviewed 5 people, we did this. To avoid that, just use passive voice. 5 people were interviewed in this research, data were collected from these sources, and these were given to the participants, and the participants took part in this. That it makes it passive, and you'll be able to report easily. Great. The last feature I'll add is that academic writing has a defined structure. A defined structure is in the sense that it has an introduction. It has a format. So the format goes like introduction, the body of the academic writing, and the conclusion. And we'll look at the details. What goes into the body? What goes into the introduction? What goes into the conclusion? So these are some of the characteristics or the features of academic writing. My dear students, for this lecture, we have defined what a discourse community is. We have looked at examples of discourse communities, and we also look at the features of discourse communities. And we have established that the university is an example of a discourse community, and that the university as a discourse community, the discourse use or the writing use or language use is peculiar. And we have gone further to look at the features or the characteristics of academic writing or academic discourse. And the features, we have mentioned 5 features. 1, we said sources are consulted and cited. 2, we said the sources that are cited are acknowledged. 3, we said that language use is formal. 4, we said passive voice is preferred. And 5, we said it has a defined feature. So that is by way a summary of the lecture. Now, for the listeners and especially our dear students, sometimes you may have questions, you may have concerns, you may have contributions, or something that I said that is not clear, and you would like to call and ask for clarification. So we are now going to activate the phone lines for you to contribute to the radio lecture. And the number to call is 0503 923158. The number again, 0503 923158. That's the number to call if you want to ask a question or make a contribution to today's lecture. Great. Okay, there is a caller on the line, so let's pick the call. Hello, caller, can you lower the volume on your radio set? Please, when you call, lower the volume so that we will not get feedback. Always lower the volume.
Hello, sir. Okay, sir. Please, good morning.
Good morning. Your name and maybe your department. That will be fine.
Inusa Abdul Majid, Mass Department, please.
Okay, can you speak up a little?
Okay. Please, I was trying to, I'm not clear of the academic, the academic discourse community, the characteristics.
The academic
discourse community, which is the characteristics of it.
Okay.
Yes, please. Talking of the writings, the characteristics.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Yo, thank you. Now,
Hello?
we indicated, okay, there's another call. Okay, so I'll take notes
Hello?
and respond to them. So the question
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning.
Sir, please, I'm Derek. Please, my question is, why is it that academic discourse only takes place at the university settings and not the other levels of education, like the FECs and then the other community settings, school settings? And then my second question is, with the language used at the academic writing, during the academic writing, the words used at the university, are they all formal that we can include in the academic writing? Thank you.
Okay. All right. The first caller indicated that the characteristics of academic writing. Another call? Okay, let's pick that. Hello?
Hello, good morning.
Okay, good morning.
Amos Ndakon from Ejumako campus.
Okay, Ejumako, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. Please, my question is, we have some communities that is made up of 2 or 3 group of people that can speak different languages. For example, Akan, Provost, and Ewis in one community. Can we classify that community as a discourse community?
Okay,
that's
so that's
my
your question. Mm-hmm.
Yes, please.
Okay. Next
Hello.
caller. Hello.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Isaac from the Mass Department.
Okay.
Okay, I wanted to find out about the
characteristics of this academic discourse community. And then when you were talking, you were saying that the sources of the information are acknowledged using reference. So does it mean that if you use a reference and then you didn't quote it right, it means that the characteristics are not good?
If you do what? Come again.
If you use the reference, as you said, it has different reference style.
Yes.
And then if you use the reference style and then you mistakenly change the date or some details about the reference, does it mean that it is not properly used, so everything is wrong?
Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, doctor. Good morning.
Good morning.
Please, from Marco Campus. My question here is, can you please classify the fishermen as a discourse community?
Can you? I couldn't hear
classify the fishermen as a discourse community, or as an example of a discourse community.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Great. Thank you. Now let me quickly respond to. Okay, there is another call. Hello. Okay, we've lost the caller. Okay, hello.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning.
Yeah, my name is level 100 English department.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm also looking at the features of academic or writing in some books.
Oh, we lost the caller.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, I'm Anyas George, department.
Okay.
Okay, what I want to say is that when we're talking about the discourse community,
yes,
that's the featured aspect.
Yes.
You said it is used to utilize one or two young. That young, I want you to spell it for me.
Spelling. Okay.
Yes.
Jean. G-E-N-R-E.
Hello.
G-E-N-R-E. Jean. Thank you. Next caller.
Hello, please. Good morning.
Good morning.
And please, I'm a CD applied linguistics.
Okay. Apply linguistics. Yes, let's hear you.
And please, my question is academic discourse. The third feature.
Yes.
If you said with proof or with referring the source of the information, please, my question is that if you write without referring to the source of the information, how will the university know that maybe it's completed? And please, how should we do it? That's my question, please.
Your question is not clear to me. We said that sources are acknowledged. And your question is, if the source is not acknowledged, how would the university know? Okay, maybe. These days it's very easy to know. Next caller.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
My name is Isaac. That's from the market department.
Akani Zima.
Yes, to
Okay, please go ahead with your question.
Thank you. So when the answer was going on, a lot of times were about that defined starter. So over the movement of introduction and conclusion.
Yes.
And that's what I said. And what I want to go into details for me to know when to the introduction that kind of things.
All right. Okay. The the structure and how you get to know this is the body, this is the.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Please, I'm calling from the campus.
Okay, I think that's a female voice, right?
Yeah.
Oh, the first female to call me this morning.
Yeah. Please, I want to know how you will identify an academic writing, and what procedure will you use in terms of writing an academic essay?
What? Please come again.
How you be able to identify an academic writing? And what procedure will you use in terms of writing academic essay?
Okay. How to identify academic identify?
So, good morning.
Good morning.
Please, my name is Delali.
Okay, Delali.
Yes, please.
Your
Please,
department,
I would like
please.
from the English language department.
Okay.
Please, I would like to know if the discourse is the same as the diction.
If discourse is the same as what?
Diction.
Diction.
Yes, please.
No, but from the same source. Dick. Now, diction is choice of words. Choice of words.
Okay.
Yeah. But discourse is about communication, speech pattern. Discourse is speech pattern among a group of people. Diction simply refers to the choice of words in the process of writing or communicating. Okay, great.
Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
My name is John Begu from the Department of Strategic Communication.
Okay.
Yes, sir, thank you very much for the opportunity this morning.
You're welcome.
One of my colleagues asked a question, and I want to try and see if I can give an answer. He asked if a fisherman can also be referred as a discourse community.
Yes.
Yes, and my understanding, your teaching, I want to say yes, fishermen can be referred to as a discourse community because that is their profession.
Okay.
And then in the fishing industry, they have their own terminologies
Exactly.
that they use to understand each other.
Correct.
So once they have such terminologies, then it is a discourse community.
Great.
That is the.
Thank you for
Your
giving
call has
us
been
that
put on
answer.
hold. Please wait. Your call has been put on hold.
Thank you. Thank you for the answer. Okay. Great. So I think we can now respond to the questions. Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
I'm calling Ado Anapa from the Management Media Study,
Okay.
Third Campus.
Great.
Please, I want you to explain the use of passive voice. I didn't get that one clear.
Use of passive voice.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Hello. Hello. We lost the caller. Okay, there's another call.
Hello.
Hello.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
My name is Biman Emmanuel from English Department.
Okay.
My question has to do with the topic of academic discourse.
Okay.
You said the sources that are consulted are acknowledged by using a particular segmentation or reference system.
Exactly.
So what if I try to read from different scholars or sources and put it in my own way without acknowledging someone there? Would I be penalized for that?
If you do what without acknowledging?
If I read from different scholars and I decided to put these writings in my own way without acknowledging any of them, would I be penalized for that?
Yes, that is plagiarism. Because the scholar's idea you have used, the idea is their idea, not your idea. So you have to acknowledge them.
Okay.
Okay. A caller?
Hello.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
This is also Atta.
Okay.
All
right.
Yeah, a colleague just had a question, and I want to come in to contribute.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, he was trying to say that when the lecturer was explaining things, he didn't get a particular thing to learn. That is the use of passive voice. Now, I want to emphasize here that the lecturer is categorically by referring to children at home. That when they do something and you ask them, one of them will come and say that I did it. They will say, if it's a cup gotten broken, they say, oh, the cup has gotten broken. They will not come up to see that he broke the cup. And the very time you specify the person who did the thing, they made it an action. To the passive, you don't mention the person who did the thing, but rather you say maybe the cup was broken or the cup has broken.
Yeah.
They say you do the cup. I want to add my voice to contribution. Thank you.
Thank you for explaining passive voice. Thank you.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Aqualua.
Okay.
From Ejumako campus, Akanenzema department.
Okay.
I think I asked a question and it has been answered by a colleague student.
Okay.
I thank him for that. My next question has to do with the characteristics of academic discourse. Doc, you made us aware that in academic discourse we should use passive voice or passive construction.
Yeah, that's perfect.
For example, maybe I consulted 8 books. I should write 8 books were consulted instead of I consulted 8 books.
Yeah.
My question here is, what about if I was the one who came out with that idea? Can I use I or tell? I should use passive voice or passive construction. Thank you.
Okay. So if you come up with the idea, it's usually a conclusion or an idea that is based on maybe previous findings or research that you've conducted. So we can still use passive or hedge and say it could be concluded that it could be concluded from this study that so and so. Then you come out with your idea in that sentence. Thank you. Hello. Oh, we lost that caller.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, my name is Anasa.
Okay.
Department of Health and Safety. We are talking about the Discord community.
Yes.
The university has a teaching language, so we can classify them as a different community.
Exactly.
We are looking at my department. We also have a certain terminology that we use that the other departments don't. So can I classify my department as a discourse community?
Okay. Yeah. So the academia or the university as a whole, universities all over the world, that's what we classify as academic discourse community. Now, when you come to the academic discourse community, as you pointed out, you realize that those in applied linguistics, their terminologies or what they used to talking about morphology, pronunciation, syntax, and phonology, their terminologies may be different from those in creative arts, different from those in political science. So we make the argument that yes, the academic discourse community is a big one, it's a large one, and it is made up of smaller discourse communities within it. And the smaller discourse communities within the academic discourse community are the various departments or the various disciplines. That's great. Thank you for that observation.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Good morning, sir.
Hello.
Please, sir, explaining based on academic discounts, the characteristics. You first mentioned there are sources which you consulted, start in academic writing.
Yes.
Please, I want to know, maybe if I'm writing an essay and when I was gathering ideas, I did not consult anything with the internet or the book. I tried to use my own ideas to write out a particular answer. Doesn't mean that I've consulted something. And secondly, there's a point that I've not listened. You told me you don't mention it, so I don't know whether I'll be right or wrong. There's the concern about the academic essay.
The academic
The
essay.
larger university is found in the smallest university. I don't know whether that one too can also be a characteristic of academic. I mean,
When we talk about the sources, it simply means that every topic that you are writing about, if you are writing about a particular topic, you can get information on that topic from books, from journals, from the internet, from the magazines. Now, all these are examples of sources from which you can get information. If I'm writing on, let's say, the school feeding program, I can get information from government policies, government documents. I can get information from some people who have written on it or about it already. I can get information from what newspapers have published and use the information from these sources to write my essay on school feeding program as an example. Now, these sources that I consulted, the newspapers, the magazines, and the government policies, they are the sources I need to cite that the government policy so and so states that. I am not stating it, so I need to acknowledge the source. That is what we mean by acknowledging the source, because the information is generated by somebody. It's somebody who defined the program that way, so you need to indicate that it is the person's definition. Do you get a point? Yeah, that is the acknowledgement. And we are saying that if you fail to acknowledge it, then it means that you will be passing on the information as if it's yours.
Hello?
And that is the offense of plagiarism. Hello?
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 Yes, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Please, my name is Ophelia.
Victoria.
Ophelia.
Ophelia.
Yes, please.
Thank you. You can go ahead, please.
Please, my question is, the examples of the discount, I'm asking whether market women can also be an example of discount.
Discourse communities, yes.
Yes.
Discourse communities. Yes, I gave examples. Yes, market women have associations, and that is their practice, and they have communication among themselves. So that is a discourse community.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. So groups of people who communicate among themselves, they have common goals, and they interact. That is a discourse community. And they use language that is peculiar to their profession or their practice or what they do. Hey, please lower the volume. We're getting so much feedback from that caller. Please, you can walk away a bit from your set or lower the volume so that we don't get so much feedback in the studio. Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
It's good morning.
Good morning.
It's Amatoda from Mass Department.
Okay.
Please, you made mention of the way that the meaning offense committed in academic writing. So
Yes.
I want you to mention that word for me.
To mention that,
The word.
which word?
You said the meaning is offense committed in academic writing.
Okay, plagiarism. Plagiarism. It is spelled Plagiarism. 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 That is plagiarism.
Please,
That
can
is
you
the
spell it for me, please?
Oh, I have just spelled it too. Plagiarism. Okay. Plagiarism. 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 Even if you try Googling it, Google can give you the correct spelling. And we will meet in the lecture hall as well. So you will get the correct spelling. Plagiarism. Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
Please, good morning, Doc.
Yeah, good morning.
I'm Joseph Diamanko.
Great.
Joseph Diamanko, English department.
English.
Yes, please. I want to find out, are there ethics with corresponding sanctions in the discourse community in terms of violations?
Oh, sure. Discourse communities, most of them are highly organized, and they have ethics, they have sanctions, they have even to expel a member. If you take a Christian community, for example, a church has the right to even isolate a member or sack the member. Yes, so they have ethics. In the academia, we have ethics. Legal professionals, they have ethics. The health professionals, doctors, they have ethics. Yeah. Hello?
Hello. Good
Hello.
morning, sir.
Yeah.
Please, I'm in the person of Mohammed Abdurrahman.
Okay, Muhammad.
Yes, I'm a bit confused about this point 3. The language is formal or formal language that is being used.
Yes.
Like you have to do some reference on journals, and the language that's being used there is informal. Would you be allowed to change the language, or you use that informal language that is being written there?
Okay. Now, if you do what we call a direct quotation, there are details about this. If you do a direct quotation, you put it in quotation or quotation marks or inverted commas. So we know that that is how it is from the paper or the news that you are quoting. That one is permitted. The direct quotation will be there. Then we know that it is from that source. But you can also paraphrase the source. In that case, when you paraphrase, you will write the formal language. Okay, great. Okay. Hey, there are a few questions I have not answered.
Okay.
Caller? Hello?
Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
My name is Emmanuel from the department.
Okay, Emmanuel.
And my question is there a way we can measure or access effective communication?
Is there a way
we can measure or access effective community in a discourse community?
Yes, there are ways to measure effective communication. Yes, there is a way. We'll do that through the processes. Through the processes of the sender up to the receiver, and that will be in our next lecture. So tune in next week Friday, right? You will get about effective communication from the source down to the sender. Thank you very much.
Hello.
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 Yeah. Hello.
Hello. Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Yes, I'm Gloria.
Yeah, go ahead,
Please,
Gloria.
I want to know the public goal of academic discourse.
The what?
A public goal.
The public goal. Okay.
Yeah.
It is not the public goal of academic discourse, but the public goal of the academic discourse community. The academic discourse community has a public goal, and the public goal is to create knowledge through research and impart that knowledge for the good of society. That is their public goal. Thank you. Okay.
Yes.
Somebody asked a question about
Good morning, sir.
Hello.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Please, I'm Christine from every department, Echimako campus.
Okay, Christine, go ahead.
Please, I read one of the characteristics of discourse community, and I just want clarification or explanation.
Okay.
It says it uses participatory mechanisms to provide information and feedback. It uses participatory mechanisms to provide information and feedback. Please, I want an explanation further. Thank you.
It uses participatory mechanism to provide feedback, yes, to provide information to the members, which means that they have something like a meeting. So if you have a church service, for example, all the members participate in it. It is a participatory mechanism. And through that participation, the pastor will pass on information to the church members. So they are using a participatory mechanism to provide information to their members and to receive feedback. Great.
Hello.
Hello.
Please, I'm Amwabin from our department.
Okay.
Please, can we define discourse as a serious speech or piece of writing in a particular subject?
You are defining discourse as
a serious speech or piece of writing on a particular subject.
Yes, on a particular subject among a group of people. Yes.
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 Okay,
so
thank you.
Yes, so it can be conversation, it can be a piece of writing on a piece of topic, but the fact is that it is going on among a particular group of people. So the language used is peculiar to that group of people. That is discourse. Thank you. Okay. Somebody asked why we are referring to only the. Hello.
Hello, sir. I'm Philip. Good morning.
Okay. Good morning.
I'm Philip, mathematics department.
Okay, Philip, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to ask this question. Which characteristics of discourse stability can be identified as university community?
Again?
I'm saying that which characteristics of discourse stability can be identified as University of DGW community?
Which characteristic of discourse community?
Can be identified.
The University of Education Winneba is an example of one of the academic discourse communities. And as one of the academic discourse communities, it has all the features of academic writing. So what we do here in our writings, our research work that we write, our thesis, our dissertations, our academic essays, sources are consulted and cited, and the sources that are consulted, they are acknowledged, the language used is formal, etc. So these are features of academic writing that cut across all universities all over the world. So it's a standard that is upheld all over the world, that in writing research report you need to adhere to these standards in the academia. So that is what we are also teaching you, that once you have come to the academia, you also have to uphold these standards in writing your academic essays, in writing your project work, in writing your thesis, and in writing your dissertation. And today is the first lecture. We shall go ahead to provide the details about the language used, the formal language, the format, the structure, and I've even indicated that the sources are acknowledged. That is a whole lecture that we shall be discussing. How do you acknowledge the sources? You get a point, etc., etc. Yes, great. A question? Oh, it's past 8.
Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Please, I'm glad
Okay.
Please, I want to ask a question concerning the references.
Concerning
the references that documentation style.
Documentation style, yes.
Yeah, how we acknowledge the source.
Oh, the line is breaking.
You can use any other form, like the name of the author and the name of
the okay. When it comes to the referencing styles or documentation styles, I was just giving an example that yes, there are variations in the styles, but the variations that we have, they have names. Some of the names are, we have the APA style, that is the American Psychological Association style. We have the MLA style, that is the Modern Languages Association style. We have the Harvard style. We have the Vancouver style. We have Chicago Manual style. And we have other styles. About 11 different styles used in the academia. So we're going to take you through the various styles and the one that is prescribed for the university that you have to use, which is the APA style. So we'll be teaching you how to use the APA style in detail. So the styles have names. Okay, great. Okay, academic. Now, ladies and gentlemen, or my dear listeners, the university, those who work at the university, they are engaged in research, and they are the people we call academics. So the academics works in the academic discourse community. The research institutions and universities are established by law all over the country. An act of parliament establishes them, and that is what we refer to as the academia or academic institutions. And that is why we talk about academic discourse. And it is different from the other levels of educational institutions. So the other levels are educational institutions, but we don't call them the academia or academic institutions. Hello.
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 Good morning.
Good morning.
Please, I'm Joe Tete.
Okay, Joe.
From South Campus.
Okay.
BBA.
BBA.
Yes, please.
Great. Go ahead.
Please, you said source must be acknowledged, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Please, when our current president was elected into office, okay?
Yes.
During his speech,
yes,
we realized that he quoted, "We must be a citizen, but not spectators."
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
And that quote is being picked from a former president of America.
Yes.
You understand? But he didn't acknowledge it.
Yes.
So I want to ask whether it's an offense or not.
Yeah, that is plagiarism.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but the offense of plagiarism, nobody will arrest you and imprison you.
so there's no punishment for plagiarism.
The punishment we have for plagiarism in the academia, because for the academia you belong to a particular institution, so they can sack you. They may not imprison you. They will cancel your work. Plagiarism doesn't come with imprisonment. The only thing that will be done to you is that it will be clarified that this is not your code, so it doesn't belong to you, so the work is not yours, therefore you can't graduate, therefore you will not earn the mark. That is the sanction.
Okay.
Or you will be asked to leave the university. Yeah.
Okay, so please, outside the school, I can use a source without acknowledgement, right?
Outside what?
The school. Outside the university.
Yes, if the owner of the source takes you on, you may end up being disgraced. So it comes with shame.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Just that the person, because it is the person may not be able to arrest you and put you behind bar, but the person will say, no, this is not yours, it is mine. So you'll be exposed, and it comes with some embarrassment. Yeah. Okay. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah.
This is Mr. Lafo. I can't information department at the Jmoko campus.
Okay.
Yeah, my brother just said something, and I want to add my voice.
Okay.
I hope what we are doing is academic discourse. And to me, president making a speech and quoting from somebody's previous speech, it should not be an offense. Simply because, to me, the language you've been using, the second language, is not our language. So I've been speaking. Do you quote where you get it from? You don't. So I understand from the point of view that when we are writing,
project with thesis, we're documenting something. That is where, when a source is consulted, it needs to be acknowledged, but not in the speech. That is my understanding.
A speech is a piece of writing. For every writing, to be honest, once you are referring to somebody, you just have to acknowledge. It is a matter of credibility. It's a matter of honesty. It's a matter of ethics. It saves your own face. Okay.
Hello?
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 Please go ahead. We can hear you.
My name is Joseph Thomas.
Okay.
Department, Ejimako Campus.
All right.
Talking about referencing. Let's say if you have done an academic research or have done academic research or written a book.
Yes.
Then I'm doing another one again, and I've decided to pick some information from that particular book that I've written already.
Yes.
Do I need to reference to that book, or it's not needed?
Yes, you need to reference to the earlier book that you are writing from. That is
okay.
Your own book. You need to reference it. If you fail to reference it, then you are giving us the same information again. We don't need that. So we call it self-plagiarism. Self-plagiarism. If you fail to do that.
Thank you, doctor.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Some of the questions have been answered by other students. Somebody also asked about a community where you have other people. You have, that is usually a speech community, not necessarily a discourse community. A discourse community has to do with a group of people with common goal, and they have a practice or a profession or something that they are all interested in, that they pursue, right? Great. Then the Fisher folk has been answered. Yes, it's an example of a discourse community. Somebody asks about the source. How will you know that somebody has used a source without acknowledgement? We have what we call the plagiarism checkers. We have Turnitin, we have Plascan, and we have other software. Whatever you have written these days, once we put it in that software, it will tell us all the sentences that you have actually stolen, or in quote, that you have used from other sources without acknowledging, and it will even tell us the source where you copy them from. So it is very easy to know. Somebody asked about the structure. How will you identify that this is an academic piece of writing? Yes, academic piece of writing is so unique, and one of the unique things about academic piece of writing is that it is done with an elaborate quotation or referencing, and that is so unique about academia and research writing. So you'll be able to identify it using these features. The use of passive voice. Okay, somebody came in to explain this. Yeah. And formal. That the language used in the academia, is it formal all the time? Well, in a peer-to-peer interaction, there's no need for you to use formal language. No, you are in a conversation with your brother or your roommate. There's no need to use formal language. But when you start writing, you are writing an academic essay, or you are writing a paper, you've been asked a question, assignment has been given, then that one you can't use informal language. That one you have to use formal language. Yeah. So, and somebody also asked about the characteristics. The characteristics. Yes, I mentioned 5 characteristics. Okay, and let me reiterate. Sources are consulted and cited. The sources are acknowledged. Formal language is used. Passive voice is preferred, and it has a defined structure. These are the characteristics of academic writing that I mentioned. Okay, so let's take note of that.
Hello, sir. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Please, I'm Stephen from Private Administration Department.
Okay.
Please, under the characteristics of this community,
Yes.
where you made mention the mechanism of intercommunication among people, I don't get the concern over this.
You have a concern.
Yeah, I'm talking about under the discourse community.
Yes.
The feature of mechanism of intercommunication among people.
Yes.
Please, I'm not clear with it.
over there?
Oh, mechanisms of intercommunication. It may come in the form of meetings. In the academia, for example, we have seminars, we have lectures, and during the lectures, we pass on information to students about research works that have been carried out and for the further reading, for them to gain the knowledge. So in the academic discourse community, we use lectures, we use tutorials, we use seminars, we use conferences. All these are mechanisms of intercommunication among academics, right? And I give the example of religious groups as example of academic discourse, as example of a discourse community. They use church services, they use choir practices, they use prayer meetings as mechanisms of intercommunication. Do you get it right? Yeah, so the meetings, the seminars, the lectures are all mechanisms of intercommunication. Okay, another call.
Well, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Please, mathematics.
Evans, okay.
I want to ask, through the mathematicians, if you put a formula in solving the mathematics, are you to acknowledge this is who come up with the formula?
Yes, we do. We do. If you are writing a mathematical research and you're saying that this constants, you are using this constants, who developed that constants? Let me use my man. It's Alote's constant. This is not your constant, so you have to acknowledge Alote. So even some of the constants or some of the formulas, they have the names of the people attached to it, and you are using. So even by the use of the name itself tells us that it is not yours, right? So we do acknowledge. Mathematicians acknowledge those who develop the formulas and all these kinds of constants for calculating certain parameters. Yeah, so they do acknowledge. Thank you very much. Some questions from WhatsApp messages. Wow, this one I need a lawyer. Okay, okay, let's respond to the messages. Can we classify a community with two groups of people with different languages as a discourse community? Oh, please no, please no. Discourse community is highly established with membership and it has mechanisms of interaction. So no. So is there any difference between characteristics of a community and a discourse community? Yes. Yes, discourse communities have striking characteristics, 6 defining characteristics that we mentioned. So yes. Please, doctor, can we classify the fishermen as... Oh, yes, yes, that question has been answered. Mami Efua Akon. Doctor, can you say discourse is just a usage of language? Yes, it is usage of language, but it is usage of language among a particular group of people. Right, Mami Efua? Thank you. Ladi, Sina Ladi, doc, please. The last point says it has a defined features. No, it is defined structure. Defined structure. Defined structure. So does it mean that without the feature, the writing becomes informal? No, it has a defined structure. So the structure is there. You know, every piece of writing has a structure that it follows. A news item has its own structure. An essay has its own structure. A letter has its own structure. Yes, so academic writing has a defined structure, right? Elizabeth Akurugu, good morning. My name is Elizabeth, Department of Ejumako. Ejumako is not a department too. Okay, it's a Gurgonja department, Ejumako campus. That's correct. Please, the academic essay writing was clear to me. Oh, thank you. Thank you that it was clear to you. Thank you so much. It was clear to you. I'm grateful that you got it so clear. And other messages that came through our text. Good morning, my name is Mabel Otame. Please kindly repeat the last 2 features of academic discourse community. Academic discourse community, I mentioned 6 defining characteristics, and the last 2 I mentioned are that the members have levels of expertise and knowledge, and they use genre. Okay, genre. Doctor, please, Francisca from English department, please. Can one say family is a discourse community? Yes, to some extent, a family can be classified as a discourse community of its own. Thank you. Please, this is Kuba Geroni from Applied Linguistics. Please, can a functional essay, an academic essay, have the same way of writing? Thank you. Yeah, it's well, we call it fictional, fictional essay that is based on imagination. Yeah, they can have the same format, but a fictional essay is based on imagination, not on facts, not on concepts. So that makes a difference between them. An academic essay is based on events that happen, concepts or research that has been carried out, and you are writing the research report. Great, thank you so much, Kuba Jerome. Please, must a discourse community have all the aforementioned characteristics? Well, it should, but can you give us exception, if you can, of any discourse community that does not have all the 6 defining characteristics? Fine. But if we have 6 and it has maybe 4, then fine. Then it qualifies to be a discourse community, right? Great. Please, does the colloquial and form of writing carry the same sanctions? Sanctions? What do you mean by that? Well, if you write and your writing is colloquial, you're using colloquial variety, your supervisor will correct you and tell you, no, don't use these words, don't use kid, don't use that, don't use mom, don't use loss of, use formal language. So your supervisor will correct you, or even if it is an essay you submit, the lecturer will correct and tell you, no, in academic writing, don't use this kind of language, don't use that. And you also learn how to use the formal language. Yeah. So I'm Paulu Victus, English Department, level 100. So Paulu Victus, thank you very much for your question, but it does not carry a sanction. The one that will carry a sanction is plagiarism. Plagiarism, that one will carry a sanction, but informal language will carry correction. Okay, good. Thank you so much for your questions and your contributions, and I would like to say, my dear listeners, and especially our dear students, level 100 students, thank you for your enthusiasm, thank you for your participation, thank you for all the concerns, thank you for your questions, and some even call in to answer their colleagues' questions. Thank you so much for your contribution. Thank you for the explanations that you offered. Thank you so much, people from Ajumako campus, Ebe Department, Gurgonja Department, and Akan Inzima Department, calling all the way from Ajumako and being part of the radio lecture this morning. Thank you all the various departments, mathematics, BBA, music, that were able to call, and I'm so grateful to all of you for your contributions and your questions. And please, we'll be coming your way again with another radio lecture next week, Friday, as usual, 6:30 to 7:30, and sometimes go beyond 7:30 as we have done today. It is already 8:30 and we are still in the studio, all because of your questions and your messages, which are still pouring in. Good morning, Dr. Albert. Please, I want to ask that there are times we consult information from so many sources, and does that mean that I would have to acknowledge all those sources even though I know I am combining different information on a particular research form? Yes. What's the name? Patience. When you consult information from these sources, now it does not mean that once you consult information then you have to use the information. We consult so much that we sift, we use the ones that are relevant to the topic or what we are writing. So the ones that are relevant are the ones that we make use of or we cite. So you cite the ones that are relevant to the topic or to the argument that you are making. But you might have consulted so many, but not all may be relevant. Okay, great. So patient, that is what happens, and that is one of the headaches in writing an academic paper. Sometimes you go to the library, you read so much, but in the end you find only 3 that are relevant to what you are doing. So you cite from only the 3. Yes, that is the reality of writing an academic paper. Great. That is it. So you read so much and broaden your knowledge and use the relevant ones. And then you cite them. And when you cite them, please just acknowledge them to avoid plagiarism. Thank you so much, Patience. And on that note, from Patience, we're going to end the radio lecture for today. So, my dear listeners, let me say thank you once again, and for all your contributions. And today it has been your lecturer, Dr. Albert Agbesi Wornyo. So let me say bye for now. Enjoy your weekend. We'll come your way again next week. Bye.